Hello guys, it's Jimmy here and welcome to a video about weather in sim racing. It's going to be a discussion with myself pretty much, just about weather and the attitude towards it. Oh well, I've come across anyway in the sim racing community. Now it's going to be a bit different structure wise to how I usually do this sort of video. Usually, obviously you don't see it, but I have like a screen of notes, some points I want to cover. But now I'm just going to kind of do a free form, cut the bits where I just stop talking and go from there. But yeah, what I've done for this video is there should be at some point 3 different sims. I've included GTR2, iRacing and rFactor 2. Obviously one of those isn't like the others. GTR2 is quite a bit older than the rFactor 2 and iRacing, but I thought it'd be good to include anyway. So what do I mean by weather? I mean predominantly rain. Rain is always good to have in a sim. It obviously reflects real life driving. You do come across rain quite a bit in racing. Also things like fog, temperature, and wind. Anything you can really talk about when it comes to weather. And I want to talk about the attitude towards it first, because I feel that there's a very negative attitude towards weather in the sim racing community. Sim racing, especially in games like rFactor, I guess I would say to iRacing to an extent, and not so much rFactor 2, is down to muscle memory. And for those who don't know what I mean by muscle memory, let's for an example of muscle memory, let's look at GTA San Andreas. Everyone knows the cheats for GTA San Andreas, so where your fingers would just fly across the buttons and you spawn a Hydra, which is a jet. But you wouldn't be able to tell anyone the actual code for the cheat. You just know how to do it with your hands. That's muscle memory basically. And there are some people more talented in muscle memory than others, and that can lead to a better driver. And not to discount those who are good with muscle memory, it's something that is a skill for real racing drivers as well. But there's almost a fear among those amongst those who are significantly quick in the kind of very average conditions, which stay average for the entire race, of moving to something which may change the conditions. And I don't know why this is, because as sim racers obviously we strive for realism to the biggest extent we can. I'm not saying that I want to see rain every race, because that is just a silly idea. And although obviously from this video we're pretty much seeing that, there are certain plugins for rFactor 2, for example, that actually feed off the weather reports for the locations of racetracks and just use that as the race weather for the upcoming league event or whatever. And I think that's a really cool idea. I really like that, because obviously then it's not down to someone just going, you know what, I'm going to make it rain, let's hit the rain button. And it's not down just to random changeable conditions. It is down to what the weather is like there at the time. And that is cool to me. That is really cool having, let's say for example you're racing at Spa. I mean, I've raced a surprising amount of dry races at Spa and iRacing, it's surprising considering how it's raining there pretty much every time F1 goes anywhere near it. And why shouldn't there be rain? And why shouldn't we have that challenge in iRacing? It'll be a nice change of pace, more fun. And that's what I think people are almost afraid of. They're afraid of that change. Take this for example. I looked onto the iRacing forums and the ISI forums regarding weather and regarding what people thought of it, and I've seen many threads saying, when's rain coming, rah rah rah, and people just seem to be so negative towards anything that involves change or criticizing a sim. And it was the same on the rFactor 2 forums about getting the real road working properly if it doesn't work very well. And the rain is a bit either on or off. It's either bone dry or reflective wet, as you'll see in the video of the 370Z going around. And no one just seems very eager to budge an inch either way. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I think at the moment rFactor 2 is the nearest for weather. I think the real road is okay. It's okay in the wet, because obviously it does dry up, but the dry line, let's say going from wet to dry conditions, appears far too quickly, and that's something that needs work. And it's by all means perfect. I know obviously I've been accused of being an rFactor 2 fanboy, but I know there are flaws in that sim that need looking at before it can be considered right. I drove the V8 supercar in iRacing for this in I think it was normal temperature No, it wasn't, sorry, it was a pretty low temperature, I think it was, and a fog, as you can see, I guess, when it comes to that part of the video. And that was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed not being able to see where the hell I was going. And it's another variable. I have to drive differently to how I would. I mean, if there were cars around me, I'd have to drive even differently. I'd have to be very cautious. I mean, I'd have to think about the brake lights of the guy in front and where I'm aiming for the next corner, etc. And it's all very fun and very interesting. But I mean, to me, it seems that weather is reserved for the offline driver at the moment, which is a real shame. And I know there will be maybe some issues with implementing it into things like iRacing, where it has races every couple of hours. You know, people would maybe purposely miss the race if it's wet, which is, people will race to that advantage at the end of the day. All racing drivers tend to do that, or sim racing drivers I should call us, I guess. But when I tried out GTR 2, and although the force feedback and the weather in that is nowhere near any of the modern sims, it was just such a treat to go out in the middle of the night in the rain, thinking about, you know, having to brake that little bit earlier and being that little bit more cautious on the throttle, and how cool that would be with 20 or 30 other cars driving around with me at the time, and obviously how we would deal with those changeable conditions. And I don't know why it's just stopped. I really don't. That interest for wet weather, change weather, just seems to have just pitted out. I mean, we can look back at Formula 197 that I played recently, and there's wet and change of weather in that. You know, the weather changes as the race goes on, and that's fantastic. And that was in a game that is now, maths in my head very quickly, 17 years old. And why can't a sim that's out now in this very modern, very innovative age of sims not even try and replicate that, you know, and have it done well, to a point where it's immersive and it's realistic and enjoyable. Tyre strategy and pit strategy and all that can be thrown out the window if the rain comes down, you know, and the guy at the back can have a chance to chuck on some new tyres and take a gamble and maybe, you know, turn his race around. And it just seems that, I don't know, almost like sim racing really does appeal to that elite at the top sometimes. And I say this obviously in a very cynical way. That's how it can feel sometimes. Not to say that, you know, oh, I'm not winning and it should be wet. It's just something that I'm bringing up. And I really hope we get back to that, because you'll see from the GTR 2 video just how immersive that is, being part of that experience of being on your road, on a track, in the wet, in this little shell of a car, you know, dragging it around the track at 150 plus miles an hour. And why people can't get on board with that anymore, I just don't know. But anyway guys, thank you for watching and listening to me rant about weather. If you have any views of your own, I'd very much like to hear them. Please put them in the comments below. If you enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy it, maybe give it a share or subscribe. So thank you again for watching guys, and I will catch you next time.